the rest of the things that I found, and this is not the entire list, of course, by any means, but I'm going to try to roll right through this. Knowledge. So one of the things that you can really do to purify your auric field, your whole energy body, is, of course, learning and activating your neurological system. So the more you learn, and different facets of learning. I was doing puzzles all weekend, reading, dialogue, discussions, debate, any type of learning, taking classes. I think it's so important in terms of keeping your vessel as engaged as possible, to be continually learning, to always be a lifelong learner. Crystals. I know that this part might seem kind of like, what? How do crystals have anything to do with our purification process? So I've been fascinated with crystals since I was a little girl. There was this place called Green's Rock and Lapidary, and I would just go in and look at the crystals for as long as my parents would let me look at them. But the interesting part about crystalline structures is that they are literally the building blocks of what we are. So they emit certain frequencies, and when we learn about the crystal kingdom and these different energy fields that crystals will emit, it's something that we can utilize to clarify our aura, and also as a reminder. I will do videos on crystals and the scientific applications of the periodic table of elements and stuff down the road. It's part of what I want to teach, but again, that's just something on this particular list of purification. Now, exercise. Of course, exercise is super important. I talked about dance earlier in terms of vibration, but just getting out and moving your body is so important. It purifies your entire system, because the energy is movement. We are energy, and we have to move. It's so important. So the sedentary lifestyle we have in the modern era, sitting in front of a computer, being in our offices, driving around in cars, is not good in terms of anti-aging and in terms of the total well-being and purification process. So exercise, it doesn't matter what form it is, if it's a gentle walk, if it's sports. Anyways, you guys get that point. In terms of eradicating heavy metals and toxicity from the body, greens and fresh greens are some of the most beautiful ways to do this. Things like wheatgrass shots. There are, I take several algae supplements, okay? So things from the ocean. We want to take minerals and compounds from all over, all of the layers of life. So we want to, have those things being utilized within our body. They all come from different kingdoms, and different intelligences live within these kingdoms. So I like to eat things from the sea. I like to eat things from fresh water. I like to eat things from the natural plant kingdoms as well. But I, again, tend to bring into my diet the plant-based elements. So seaweeds, that kind of thing, algae. And anything green is going to be highly effective at detoxifying any heavy metals in your body. Positive people. So super important to surround yourself with people that are on a really high level. I love, I find that the more academic my associations are, so people that, have gone to university, that love knowledge, that aren't talking about others, that aren't gossiping, if we're sharing knowledge and we're comparing knowledge and we're trying to create things, this is going to be the most purifying interaction. Or spirituality. I have a lot of friends that are religious, that love to talk about philosophy, spirituality. Again, this is something that is a highly positive aspect of how you can really cleanse your auric field. Choosing your friends wisely, choosing your associates wisely, people that aren't complaining, people that don't have a lot of negative aspects or things going on in their life. It doesn't mean, or in their lives, doesn't mean you're not going to help them. It just means that that can't be your primary focus if you're trying to recharge yourself. I also like to be around very peaceful people. So those are people that can like sit in a room and don't have to small talk. You know, they don't always have to be having a dialogue. You can just be sitting in their presence and they're peacefully doing their own thing. That is very healing in terms of your body, to just be able to be without feeling uncomfortable about your beingness. And when you can learn to be around others in this way and just, you know, live and let live, but peacefully experience them without this constant kind of chatter needing to go on. Because I think a lot of times people talk because they're nervous or they don't like the silence. And that's brings me to one of my last points, is being able to go into the silence, just quieting the mind, being very in the moment, experiencing, so being very experiential without the chatter. Because I feel like, again, and this is how I've experienced, people are constantly chattering about what's going on and having to be like, oh, well, did you see the nice fire? The fire's so nice. Oh my God. Da, da, da. And the thing about this is that you're not really deeply feeling the experience when you're chattering about the experience. So learning to quiet yourself around others and just experience others without the need for small talk is really, really purifying. It's very peaceful. It's very calming. And this is how that's why animals are so peaceful. You know, when you're sitting with a cat on your lap or your dog, or, you know, if you're in a barn cuddling a horse, whatever it is, the reason that you feel so much peace around them is that they have no ego. They don't need anything from you. They don't need constant confirmation through sort of superficial dialogue. They're just emanating this beautiful, peaceful essence. And again, so another really cool thing that will happen when you kind of dip into this silence, and I've always known this because I've owned, you know, companies where I worked with animals, and I was a veterinary assistant, and I've always worked with animals and I've always been around animals since I was a very young child. But animals communicate telepathically. So they send you thought forms, you know, through that mental vibrational connection. And I know earlier in this video, I was talking about communicating with the deers this morning, but again, a lot of it was telepathic. It's, you know, me sending them telepathic communications that I'm safe, that I'm gentle, all of these different things. And to some logical minds, this isn't going to make sense until you've seen it in practice and you've done it. You know, I've been around bears when I used to be young and hiking, and, you know, there'd be a grizzly bear at the water's edge. I wasn't nervous of it. I was just like, observing it. And it's just an animal. It's just a life form like you or I. And again, we have to get out of that total fearful nature that human beings have. Now, again, in terms of spatial aspects with the animal kingdom, we're not to go up and pet them. Just like we wouldn't want some random person on the street coming up and petting us. That's very intrusive. So we have to respect their boundaries, and they'll come to us if they want to. That's the way that it works with, you know, respect in terms of, you know, body to body, right? Now, again, alone time, being alone, being in the silence or listening to music, doing something that is just you and the ether, very purifying for the mind, body, spirit, soul, is just to learn to love being alone with yourself. This is very powerful energy. And then last but not least, and I mean, I know that there's a huge list beyond this, is creating. So when we're in our creative energy, it's super purifying to who we are. For me, it's painting, it's dancing, it's singing, it's creating different companies, whatever it is. But again, just coming into unification with that energy that emanates from each and every one of us, and that is the ability to create. So this kind of sums up my list. Hopefully some of these things were inspiring to you and will help you along your process. And I'm going to get to it. I've got some birdhouses to put up for the beautiful birds that fly around my ranch. But just wishing you all a fabulous, fabulous long weekend Monday.